CBSEvening.com, the new online toy store.
That tastes good.
Here's an idea. Try our tasty new Barbecue XL burger. Right now, it's just 99 cents.
When you have it your way, it just tastes better.
Ally McBeal's kissed with another woman on Entertainment Tonight.
The sad official declaration. No one survived the crash of Egypt Air Flight 990. Searchers now focus on recovering wreckage and remains while investigators retrace the jetliner's final movements. And we'll tell you about some of the lives that were lost. Plus, countdown to 2000. Think summer heat waves are bad now? Wait till you hear the long-range forecast.
This is the CBS Evening News. With Dan Rather reporting from CBS News headquarters in New York.
Good evening. It is now officially a search for wreckage and remains from Egypt Air Flight 990. No known survivors among the 217 on board. Night has fallen over the debris field 60 miles off Massachusetts. Bad weather is expected to set in soon. Here's the latest. A significant piece of the aircraft has now been located. A possible pinging signal was detected from the jet's data recorders. The black boxes could be crucial in determining whether the crash cause was mechanical, criminal, or crew error. Some debris and remains have been brought to shore in Rhode Island. CBS's Bob Orr is there. Bob?
Dan, investigators tonight are finally getting a better understanding of what happened in the terrible final seconds of Egypt Air Flight 990. The radar tapes show the plane in a high-speed fatal plunge. But sources tell me tonight that so far the radar data does not show that the plane broke up in midair. In any case, the jetliner was shattered by a terrible impact with the water. With bad weather approaching, the Coast Guard stepped up its search today, finding the first large pieces of the doomed 767. The floating debris is in waters approximately 60 miles off Nantucket.
We found a significant piece of the aircraft this morning, a new piece of evidence. It is large enough that it requires the crane on our buoy tender to recover it.
Officials say none of the wreckage picked up so far shows any signs of burn marks consistent with a fire or an explosion, but the vast majority of the plane remains on the floor of the Atlantic. The Coast Guard has also picked up a signal from one of the plane's two black boxes. A Navy salvage ship and more sophisticated sonar vessels are headed this way.
We are dealing with water 250 feet deep, and recovering and locating small objects like recorders is a daunting effort.
The black boxes are critical. The cockpit tape could reveal what the pilots talked about in the seconds before the crash. For example, did they discuss a particular problem, like an electrical outage or a structural or mechanical failure? The flight data recorder will provide information on the plane's performance and perhaps on its harrowing high-speed dive. Radar shows the plane began plunging from 33,000 feet. In just 36 seconds, the wide-body plane dropped 14,000 feet. The last radar hit was at 1:52 a.m., 34 minutes after takeoff, and just seconds before the plane slammed into the Atlantic.
Airplanes just going totally out of control at 33,000 feet are so very unusual that they're almost unbelievable at first, because airplanes aren't designed to do that.
Investigators are also checking out what they believe to be a bizarre coincidence. This Egypt airplane, as it turns out, was built just a couple of days before another 767, one that crashed back in 1991 because of a problem with the engine braking system. After that 1991 crash, Boeing ordered that all 767s be fixed, and now investigators need to make sure that Egypt Air made that fix. Dan?
Bob Orr in Newport, Rhode Island. Hundreds of U.S. federal agents are checking into everyone and anyone who was on the plane or touched the plane during its various U.S. stopovers. CBS's Jim Stewart is tracking that part of the story.
The FBI spent today retracing Egypt Air Flight 990's time on the ground at 3 U.S. airports, as well as carefully reviewing the flight's passenger manifest, 18 crew members and all ground personnel who had access to the plane. CBS News has learned that in Los Angeles, one of the Egypt Air crew members had reported his hotel room was broken into and his briefcase searched shortly before the flight departed. Federal agents are still investigating, but thus far do not attach much significance to the incident. Meanwhile, 600 FBI agents divided between Newark, Los Angeles, and New York began retracing the plane's journey. Flight 990 spent nearly 2.5 hours in Newark before flying to Los Angeles, where it was on the ground for 3 hours while a tire was changed and a new flight crew came aboard. It left for New York Saturday afternoon, and was at JFK Airport for an hour and a half before its last takeoff early Sunday. Investigators say that only one passenger deplaned in New York, an Egypt Air consultant, and that the only unusual cargo aboard was construction material for a home to be built in Cairo for an Egyptian living in Los Angeles. Like all the baggage placed aboard Flight 990, the construction material had been closely examined. Investigators say there have still been no claims of responsibility for the incident, that no prior specific threats had been made against Egypt Air, and that thus far no red flags have emerged from examining the passenger list, which included 30 Egyptian military officers. What the FBI would most like to do at this point is have its laboratory look over some of the wreckage for any evidence of a bomb. But that's not likely to happen soon because most of it is still some 200 feet beneath the Atlantic. Dan?
Jim Stewart in Washington. In Egypt, relatives of the victims were boarding planes for America today. President Hosni Mubarak said he does not think the crash was a terrorist act, but at this point, no one knows. CBS's Richard Roth is in Cairo.
In Cairo tonight, anguished relatives waited for a flight to America. Among the mourners, the brother of Flight 990's pilot.
He was a human being, as you have the honor to be with him as a human.
Egypt Air is offering transport and accommodation to relatives of the crash victims. What the airline doesn't have is answers.
I don't know how it is alive or in water or under the water. I don't know now.
Tonight, airline officials here insist it's just too soon to know what happened, and they're worried Egypt Air is already being blamed for an oversight involving safety or security.
This flight was totally the responsibility of the security company with which we have a contract with in the United States.
But there has been trouble in the airline's history, the deadly end of a hijacking to Malta in 1985, a hijacking on a flight from Turkey just last month. Terrorist threats are never far here. In Luxor, Egypt, just 2 years ago, 58 foreign tourists were killed by radicals who want Egypt turned into a fundamentalist state, Islamic militants opposed to the government. Only 2 months ago, Egyptian officials announced security here was being beefed up at airports and on Egypt Air flights. There was no specific threat, authorities said. It was just routine in this part of the world. Richard Roth, CBS News, Cairo.
In this country, relatives of the victims were flown today to Rhode Island to be close to the recovery operation. It was a flight of sorrows, as CBS's Richard Schlesinger reports.
As relatives of the crash victims went from New York to Rhode Island today to be closer to the search, their plane flew near the crash site.
The plane went up in the air and just look at the water, everybody think what happened. And
Egypt Air 990 was almost full Sunday with passengers who were husbands and wives, fathers and mothers, sisters and brothers, and friends.
Jean was naturally curious about people and the human element.
The Reverend Leonetta Bugliese was Eugenia Rhodes's minister. Mrs. Rhodes lived through cancer, was hard of hearing, and had already been around the world. She was 80 years old.
What I learned from her is that kind of perseverance that I see from quite a few of the elders in this congregation, is that they don't concentrate on their health problems. They accomplish new things, they learn new things, and they have a zest for living.
4 of the victims, Judy Bowman, Sheila Jaffe, Toby Seidman, and Beverly Grant, played cards together in Orange County, California. Beverly Grant was 82, and her family thought she had a lot of time left.
We thought she would outlive us. She was strong and healthy and full of energy, and she will truly be missed.
76-year-old Richard Brokaw and his 72-year-old wife, Virginia Chaplin, were planning to take a cruise down the Nile. They had only been married about a year.
I guess I remember how happy they were together, how much they loved each other.
217 people are gone with barely a trace. But numbers can be numbing. It's the stories that make this kind of tragedy real. Richard Schlesinger, CBS News, New York.
Still ahead on the CBS Evening News, a close call today for presidential hopeful George W. Bush, the death at a very young age of one of football's all-time greats, and countdown to 2000, the meltdown that may be coming in the 21st century.
That was was a real scare with my overactive bladder. I was going so often. Then bottom of the ninth, suddenly I had to go. But that time, I didn't think I'd make it. That did it. I asked my doctor about Detrol.
Overactive bladder is a medical condition. Today's prescription Detrol is proven effective to treat it. Detrol helps control bladder contractions that cause those sudden urges. Detrol reduced bathroom visits by 2.2 times in 24 hours versus 1.1 times with placebo. 1.2 fewer wedding accidents occurred with Detrol versus 0.8 fewer with placebo. Similar decreases over 24 hours. If you have certain types of stomach, urinary, or glaucoma problems, do not take Detrol. The most common side effect is dry mouth. Some others may include dry eyes, headache, constipation, and indigestion.
Seventh inning. Need a break?
Not right now. Thanks to Detrol.
Ask your doctor about prescription Detrol, proven effective to treat overactive bladder.
Mom, did that file open yet? No.
Buy a Gateway PC with the YourWare program and you can trade it in toward the purchase of a new one in 2 years. So you'll never have an old computer. Call now. Get a Gateway PC with an Intel Pentium 3 processor and a printer for $41 a month.
President Clinton is in Norway tonight on a mission for peace in the Middle East. While working to bring Israel and the Palestinians together, the president is also keeping an eye on the investigation into the crash of the Egyptian airliner. CBS's chief White House correspondent John Roberts is traveling with the president. John?
Dan, the president has been trying hard to maintain his focus on this Middle East peace mission in the face of news that 106 Americans died in the Egypt air crash. At every opportunity, he has been briefed on the latest developments by his national security team. But the information so far has been frustratingly thin.
To make a final determination about the cause of the crash will require the recovery of as much of the airplane as possible. But that has not been done yet. And therefore, I will say again, nothing has been ruled in, nothing has been ruled out.
The president is actively searching for answers to the crash, even as he shuttles between delicate meetings designed to kickstart the Mideast peace process. After separate talks today with Israeli Prime Minister Barak and Palestinian leader Arafat, Mr. Clinton will bring them together tomorrow in hopes of nudging the two toward a final agreement on the status of the Palestinians. A senior administration official tells CBS News tonight that enough progress was made just at today's meetings to have made this trip worth it. But the president says, make no mistake, what lies ahead is the really hard part. Dan?
In Oslo, Norway, John Roberts. Republican presidential hopeful George W. Bush got on his scheduled campaign flight today after he sustained minor leg and hip bruises in a bizarre accident. The Texas governor had to dive for cover to avoid a tractor-trailer truck that overturned right next to a jogging path he was on in Austin. Bush was hit by some flying debris. So was a Texas public safety agent who needed hospital treatment. No word on why the truck went out of control. Still to come now on the CBS Evening News, Requiem for a Running Back, the Walter Payton story.
Every kid knows, if you want to make the big leagues, you better eat your Wheaties. And every dad should know, whole grain Wheaties may help prevent cancer. Numerous studies confirm a low-fat diet rich in whole grain foods like Wheaties may reduce the risk of certain cancers. So when he does make the big leagues, you'll be in the front row. 100% whole grain Wheaties and new Wheaties Raisin Bran, champions in the fight against cancer.
Hi, I'm Michael Jordan.
I'm Elmer Fudd.
Big news. America's going crazy for MCI 5 cents every day. Now it's 5 cents a minute every evening and all weekend long.
Now, a roving reporter. Let's find out how a typical American feels about MCI's 5 cents every day offer.
I'm speechless.
I'm soaked.
Now, Michael, so just call 1-800 every day to join.
Is that a wrap?
That's a wrap.
There's nothing like the way I feel after a good night's sleep. That's why I love my Tylenol PM. For me, there's just no reason to have trouble sleeping. I take Tylenol PM before bed. It stops my pain and helps me sleep. So I'm ready for another great day.
This is the face of erectile dysfunction. So is this. And this. Fact is, 1 in 3 men have some form of ED. a medical condition also called impotence that affects men of every age, race, and background. What else do all these men have in common? They all faced up to their problem and got help. If you're experiencing ED, there's no need to hide your face. Just talk to your doctor. It's the best way to get educated about ED and how to treat it.
Shake, 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 Sonora, shake your body line. Shake, 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 Sonora, shake it all the time. Okay, dance, 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 Sonora.
We have an update tonight on the case of Sean Berry, the last of 3 white men to be tried for the dragging murder of a black man in Jasper, Texas. As we've reported, the prosecutor has gotten the trial judge to order a CBS News producer to turn over by tomorrow morning unedited and unaired videotape of a 60 Minutes 2 interview with Berry. Today, a Texas State Appeals Court refused to delay tomorrow's proceedings. CBS News opposes the subpoena on constitutional grounds. CBS News President Andrew Hayward said today, quote, efforts to obtain non-broadcast tapes and transcripts pose a danger to a cornerstone of the American system, namely a free and independent press, unquote. Professional football great Walter Payton died today. The Chicago Bears Hall of Famer was just 45. He spent the last 9 months on a waiting list for a liver transplant. CBS's Carol Marine has his story.
34 was his number, and Sweetness was his nickname. But on the field, Sweetness was ferocious, an often unstoppable combination of grace and power. In the 13 years Walter Payton played professional football, he became one of the finest players the NFL has ever seen, setting records yet to be broken. Chief among them, rushing an astounding 16,726 yards in his career. He took the Chicago Bears to their one and only Super Bowl in 1985 and retired 2 years later. It was this February, looking thin and drawn, that the 45-year-old Payton stunned friends and fans with the disclosure he suffered from a rare liver disease.
This is a process that there's no correcting. In other words, it's going to continue progressively get worse, and to the point where a transplant is inevitable.
With the same grace that marked his Hall of Fame career, Walter Payton battled the disease that today claimed his life. He died at his suburban Chicago home. Carol Marine, CBS News, Chicago.
Coming up next on the CBS Evening News, Countdown to 2000, how the warming of the Earth may change your weather dramatically in the 21st century.
To find the perfect gift for the coffee lover in your life, Gifts.com tested all kinds of gift ideas.
Great gift. Great gift. Great gift. You'd buy it?
I'd buy it.
I'd give it.
You'd give it?
I'd give it.
Not very good.
This would make a nice gift.
It'd make a wonderful gift.
Help! Big, bold, body, fine, full finish. It's a marvelous Boca moment.
Coffee break!
So when you're looking for just the right gift, come to Gifts.com. Tell us about the people you're shopping for, and we'll tell you about some great gifts. Gifts.com. Just the perfect gifts.
Nobody does it like you.
Boy, they love to play horsey. So your carpet better be deep down clean. And for that, you need Hoover. Hey, you want the best, partner? Introducing the Hoover Steam Vac Wide Path. It sends hot water surging through 6 rotating brushes to stir up and pull out deep down dirt the way no other carpet cleaner can.
Hoover.
If you want clean, deep down, you want Hoover.
Let's be honest. There's really no such thing as a gracious winner. You might say things like nice game or shake your opponent's hand. But no matter how humble you are on the outside, deep down on the inside, you're saying, I'm better than you are. The Mitsubishi Galant, ranked the #1 family sedan under 20 grand by Car and Driver. Better than Accord or Camry. Boy, we just love saying that.
Out here, am I supposed to say, slow down, I'm constipated? I don't think so. So I rely on doctor-recommended Metamucil. Works with my body, gently, which is important to a sensitive guy like myself.
While some folks couldn't sleep, you were peacefully sleeping thanks to new Simply Sleep.
from the makers of Tylenol PM. It's non-habit forming and eases you into a restful night's sleep. New Simply Sleep.
It's 60 days and counting now until the year 2000. As the new year approaches, CBS News is looking ahead to the 21st century and some of what you can expect. And you can expect some major changes in the climate. Here then, the long-range weather forecast in tonight's countdown to 2000. 10 miles and a world away from Maryland's eastern shore lies a tiny, forgotten piece of America, an old jewel poking out of the Chesapeake. But its days are numbered because slowly but surely, Smith Island is drowning.
We started off with an island about 10 miles long, 6 miles wide. And now the erosion has shrunk it down to about 8 miles long and 4 miles wide. You're a tough old guy.
Jennings Evans and 350 other rugged souls call Smith Island home. They are mostly crab fishermen, as Evans was for 45 years. The sea is their way of life, and it may be the death of it, too.
The bay, it's strange the way we live here. It gives us our food and it gives us our living, but it takes away our land.
The problem with Smith Island is that the water around it is rising, and to make matters worse, the land is sinking. A strong high tide can easily swamp this island, which sits a mere 2 feet above sea level.
There were 5 houses right in a line there. And then they realized in time even their houses were going to be threatening, you know, as the sea was getting closer and closer.
Smith Island may seem an unimportant relic of the past, but in fact it offers a disturbing glimpse into the next millennium.
Smith Island's a look ahead. It's a precursor of what we expect to happen to other islands in the future, to other low-lying islands.
Coastal scientist Stephen Leatherman says the rising sea level that's engulfing the island is a direct result of global warming. Within the coming century, projections call for the Earth to warm about 6 degrees, in turn melting polar ice caps and expanding the Earth's ocean.
We expect the possibility of as much sea level rise as 3 feet over the next century.
If 3 feet doesn't sound like a big deal, maybe this will. For every 1 foot the ocean rises, 150 feet of the beach gets swallowed up. A 3-foot ocean rise means everything to that flagpole, 450 feet of Long Island's Jones Beach, goes down the drain. The damage 2 centuries from now could be even more catastrophic. New Jersey's barrier islands, North Carolina's Outer Banks, whole sections of South Florida, even New Orleans, possibly underwater.
This problem is a candidate to be the defining problem of the 21st century. In my view, the only thing that could make it not a leading candidate would be World War III.
Sea level rise is just the beginning. Scientists predict that, fueled by larger, warmer seas, hurricanes will become more intense. Think of 1992's Hurricane Andrew, which caused $30 billion worth of damage, only more powerful.
If you increase that storm by 5 or 10% in terms of its sustained wind speeds, those numbers are probably popped up into the 90 billion to 100 billion category, just to give you an idea.
There's more. Floods like the one that devastated Grand Forks, North Dakota 2 years ago will be more common. There'll be more heat waves like the 1995 Chicago scorcher that took 700 lives.
Philadelphia would be more like New Orleans. Why New Orleans would become like I don't know what.
If global warming seems unlikely and remote to you, it doesn't to Jennings Evans. He wonders if his will be the last of 10 generations to live out their lives on Smith Island.
For the younger generations, they're going to have problems, and no doubt about it.
Can Smith Island be saved, or will it become the Chesapeake's sunken treasure, buried at sea?
There's my husband, Nolan Ryan, still throwing heat. Can you believe he's got arthritis? You see, Nolan's doctor says the best way to control arthritis pain is to keep moving. And to make it easier, he recommends Advil. Nothing's been proven stronger on arthritis pain, yet it's gentle on his stomach. In fact, I take Advil for my arthritis pain. That way, we can exercise together.
Advil, stronger than pain.
We never thought we'd use OnStar for snakes.
I just hate snakes.
Yeah, traveling through Arizona, we blew a front tire. It shot off the road, and I looked down at the ground. It is crawling with rattlesnakes.
It was unbelievable.
I pushed the OnStar button. Within seconds, the OnStar advisor pinpointed our location and sent a tow truck.
Call the paramedics.
Yeah, and kept talking because we
hate snakes.
Yeah.
The one-touch connection to people who can help.
OnStar.
Call 1-800-OnStar-7.
Sign here? Sorry, I only have a minute. In so many ways, in so many places, it keeps a million disasters a day from happening. It's like having a life insurance policy you never knew you had. Gotta go. It's plastics. There's my good girl. Plastics make it possible.
I knew I was in for the fight of my life, but I was ready.
When my husband and his friends start exchanging fish stories, it's the phone bill that can turn into a whopper.
I fought this monster for hours. First I had the upper hand, then he took control.
That's why we always dial 10-10-321. With 10-10-321, calls over 10 minutes are 50% off. That's just 8 cents a minute. Daytime, nighttime, anytime.
I'll tell you, it was like a whale.
Yeah?
You should have seen it.
Well, let me tell you about my trip.
Dial 10-10-321 and talk as long as you want, whenever you want.
We have an update tonight about the Lifeline to Antarctica mission that rescued Jerry Nielsen. She's the doctor who developed breast cancer while working at the South Pole Research Station. CBS's Jerry Bowen has new information about what made the rescue so urgent and how the doctor-turned-patient is doing now.
It was the fear that her breast cancer had spread to her brain that launched last month's high-risk air mission to her rescue Dr. Jerry Nielsen from the South Pole. A very real race against time, according to her brother, Eric Cahill.
We'd pretty much prepared for the worst communications we were getting. We weren't sure how she'd be feeling.
Long before the world knew of Nielsen's awful dilemma, being trapped at the bottom of the world with breast cancer, her parents and 2 brothers were getting her emails, news that was hard to take. When you talk about it being tough to get some of that email,
We did know for sure that this is an area where there is no getting in or out of. And so it was very tough to get those.
2, 1, green light.
their anxiety and hers were eased with the July airdrop of medical equipment and chemotherapy supplies to the South Pole.
That was a critical item. I'm not a doctor, but I believe that without that, her prognosis would be poor right now.
But it's good. After her return, surgeons removed the malignant lump and found the cancer has not spread. Nielsen's new problem may be the media, eager for her story.
As well as some agents representing actresses in California, agencies who want the story, who want to do a movie.
For now, Jerry Nielsen is continuing her recovery at an undisclosed hospital, said to be feeling better, glad to be home. Jerry Bowen, CBS News, Los Angeles.
And that's part of our world tonight. I'll be back with a special Monday edition of 48 Hours, and Aaron Moriarty has a preview for you.
5 of America's best private detectives on one incredible case.
He's so innocent. It's scary.
Can this dream team save a man's life?
The stakes are as high as they get.
Impossible mission. Later on 48 Hours.
A 48 Hours Monday mystery. That's tonight at 10, 9 Central Time here on CBS. Until then, Dan Rather, reporting for the CBS Evening News. Have a good evening.
For news 24 hours a day, CBS.com on the Internet and on our interactive partner, America Online, at keyword CBS News.